Legally speaking, Grant van Bokhoff, expert in criminal law from the New Breed Law Firm. DBC Group is our new legally speaking lawyer every Monday afternoon. If you have any questions or need free legal advice, call in and speak to Grant. DBC, De Beer and Claassen Attorneys, your New Breed Law Firm, experts who simplify law, has taken service delivery to a whole new level with newly renovated offices, top-notch technology, and excellent client service. To find out more, visit DBC Group website at www.dbcgroup.co.za or call 016-976 or 800. DBC Group, our innovation gives you the edge.
And here we are once again, that time of the afternoon, where legally in the studio with us, you know him by now, Grant. How are you, sir? Are you well?
Always good, always good.
That's in the right-hand corner. In your left corner, it's Nick.
Hello, I am also here. I'm offering third party
perspective on that. Okay, let's look at this. It's been in the news. We've read about it as well. If you've missed it, disabled children in South Africa. There are hundreds and thousands of disabled children in South Africa. As we speak, there's an article you were showing me just before we went on air. Could not believe it. What has happened?
Well, I touched on this and I thought this is a good topic to inform the community about.
All right.
Because what's happening out there for our disabled children, specifically pertaining to education and their right to basic education as enshrined in Section 29 of the Constitution.
What do we mean by disabled here? The first thing I think of is someone that can't walk properly. That's what I'm thinking of, disabled. But
that is essentially, that is the start. So let's say, for example, a blind person, a deaf child,
right.
a child that has lost a limb, that kind of thing. There's essentially a grey area when it comes to that, because now you've got to ask yourself, what about the children with autism? Are they now treated differently to the children that have lost a limb?
Right.
And the biggest issue, and it was basically touched on in the beginning of the year, the Human Rights Watch actually says South African government is falling short of being able to supply the necessary infrastructure to assist not only the schools, but the communities out there. The one article talks of 500,000 children that are currently staying at home because of the fact that their right to basic education cannot be fulfilled. These are families that don't have the financial ability to put their children into a private institution. I was actually on the line with the principal of Wings for Life today, and I discussed the matter with her, and she started a private institution here in Vanderbijl Park to assist. Now they've got 8 learners per class with a teacher and an assistant. Yet with regard to the government supplying them with financial aid to help them to assist the community, the government has turned around and says, we're going to be cutting your grants next year. There is no money.
Why is there that? Is it an attitude, or is it just purely economics? I don't understand. Look at me, I'm confused. I don't understand. I don't understand.
You need somebody to explain this to you.
Yeah, I do. I want to
understand
in plain, simple language. So we're not interested. Is that
because
what the
it
government
appears
is saying?
to be, on paper at least, a very clear, as you said, Grant, violation of Section 29 of the Constitution. There's no ambiguity there. It states that every child has the right to an education. So for 500,000 children to be sitting at home, there is a violation. Something is not being done.
Now the big thing is, how is government addressing it? And this is where we are all in the dark. We know there's a violation. Human Rights Watch has said, you guys are falling short. What are you going to be doing? And then, in the next breath, when you actually contact the principal of a school that is providing these services in the community, and remember, they're private. They've got parents that have put their children in there that have to pay them 3,200 Rand a month religiously, 4,500 Rand a month religiously. That's not including aftercare. That's just basic education.
Basic.
Just for the schooling of these children. And the government is coming along and saying, we are cutting your grants now.
Again?
Yes, is it purely economic, for economic reasons? Why? Where's this money going? It has been allocated previously.
Okay. Well, if you look at the condition
Well-
of the roads, there was money allocated to that as well.
Well, if we look
The money's going somewhere, not into our roads.
well, again, SARS is collecting more than they've ever collected previously
From who?
from the taxpayers.
From a,
question
third, from, a
then,
third,
Grant-
from a third of the people employed in South Africa only.
Well, it's always the minority that's going to be funding this exercise, unfortunately.
The question is then for me, if you're the parent of a child who's disabled, who has special needs, who requires this attention from a school or from government grants, and they're now being told that for 2019 they're not going to receive it, or the school no longer has the funding or the capacity or the infrastructure, what recourse is available for these parents? Because it's not just something that you can hope gets better. If you miss a year of your child's schooling, that's a year that they can't get back, that they have to catch up on. Is there recourse available? Is there a process that they can follow? Something that can be done to try
Well,
and force these schools to
At
to
this
comply?
point, I would advise the community out there and anybody that finds themselves in this situation, go to Africa Tikken. Now, this is an empowerment program that was established, and at this point, there's 4,500 families that have actually logged on as of Thursday last week, as well as 1,000 caregivers. And they are actually, as a group, pushing this concept and saying, listen, we need to fight this. We need to make sure that there are facilities available for these children.
So, why does one have to fight? Not fight as in physically fight, but if it's there, then make use of it. And now it's been cut for no rhyme or reason. So it begs the question, and no one's really answering this, why? It's not logical. It's got nothing to do with Star Trek. It's just not logical. If it's there and the funding is there, but that's not the only thing that's not funded anymore. It's the SPCA is not.
Again, we're moving away from a system where the government was actually always involved, and now we're going to have to do it ourselves because these departments are falling apart. And unfortunately, there are further repercussions to this issue because there's no space for these kids. What happens? Okay, now they stay at home. But what happens to society when these children stay at home? The parents are not educated on how to deal with these children. Then there ends up being violence and abuse and neglect. Then what happens to those parents or the family that are trying to support them? The stress and depression kicks in, and it's a societal
Overseas.
wagon wheel.
Can I ask you then, overseas, Europe, anywhere overseas, is it also the same problem, or there it's funded in a different manner? Looked after in a different manner?
Depending on which country you're in Europe, and again, your first world countries, they have systems in place
Okay.
for children with disabilities. I've seen people with disabilities come through the system that I know of overseas that hold down a job. They are active in the economy. And that again, it's the cycle, it almost perpetuates a cycle of neglect because of the fact that these systems are falling apart.
Do you perhaps think that parents and caregivers and guardians underestimate or misunderstand the obligation of the state to provide and to ensure that this kind of education? Because with so many things in life, I think we get so used to the status quo and this idea of there's no more money for funding for these grants that we sort of just go, well, now it's up to me. I have to do this alone. Do you think that perhaps they don't realize, particularly like you said, Section 29 of the Constitution, there has to be this provision of education? Do you think people maybe give up the fight in a way?
My biggest thing, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to touch on this topic, is I want to inform the community out there. You have this right. This right should be provided for. When you look at a special needs child, and specifically when we're talking about autistic children, their need is 6 times that of a normal child that goes to school. So where the government is giving a grant of, say, 10,000 for a normal child per year, for that specific child that's autistic, you're talking about a 60,000 Rand grant. But they're not cutting the grants for the normal children out there. This is a section of the community that, and these children are in need. They can't look after themselves.
Is that not the case, though? Because it's such a small part of the community, it can be sort of swept under the rug. We can forget about this one. I know it's not that easy, and it shouldn't be like that, but heck, they're cutting it.
I think that's what they've tried to do, and now it's come to the fore because of the fact that a certain group and certain community in this country have decided to band together and take this on and make people aware of it. And I was shocked when I read the article. I mean, if you're talking about 600,000 children.
That's a lot of children. That's not sweep under the rug. That's a lot of
It's a lot of children.
But in the greater context of the minor population in South Africa, it's only what, 2%? If you look at the whole.
Well, I haven't looked at the statistics pertaining to what percentage. But again, my concerns are this is the most vulnerable portion of the community that you're dealing with here. And then we've got government basically turning around and saying, yes, we're going to definitely look into this fees must fall. We're going to be providing funding for that. But they are neglecting
Closer
the most
to home,
vulnerable.
there's issues that are arguably even more pressing. And I think people underestimate the knock-on effects. So it's not just 600,000 children.
Yeah.
It's the families of the 600,000. Their siblings who may also be not neglected, but have resources diverted away from them because in the household there's this extra added pressure.
As vulnerable.
So it goes and it builds and it builds and it builds before it becomes completely untenable, to be honest.
No, and that's exactly the situation. We need to inform the community out there. And the principal I actually spoke to when I said, listen, I'm going to be giving a talk on this. I'd just like to get your input. And I turned to her and said, listen, would you be available next week? I'd like to carry this topic over to next week to actually hear from a principal that deals with this vulnerable part of the community, that actually is hands-on. They're starting a further project to assist because there's no one out there that's doing it.
So what? Are they going to be joining us?
I definitely think we can
fantastic.
get them
That'll
in
be
next
great.
week, and then we can
Get it from
touch
that
on the same
perspective,
and
because
take
that-
it in from that perspective. Definitely.
Absolutely. All right. Sorry, we've run out of time here. You're 3 minutes overdue. I'll bill you late.
Send me the invoice.
That's his line. I'll bill you late. I'll bill you. Grant, thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
That's from the DBC Group. Thank you so much.